Welcome back and welcome to challenge number 11. So of course we're still on the multiplication component of the tutorials. And so this time we're going to multiply two numbers. Those numbers are 10 and 2. Again, remember to store those elements, those integers, into their own unique variable. Create a unique variable name for both of them. Of course, in these tutorials, I'm using num1 and num2 respectively. And then this time, because I want a product, because I'm multiplying those two numbers, I'm going to use the variable name prod, P-R-O-D, for that particular assignment. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pseudocode and the flowcharts. So our pseudocode here is consistent with, we're going to go ahead and create the display element and then store those three variables and then perform the action math operation for multiplying num1 times num2. And then we'll display that product to the screen. In the same way, our flowchart again flows in that sequential order. Multiply two numbers, create and store those variables, and then run the math operation. And then of course, in display in our flowchart, we have display product. So you know at this point, as you follow along with all the tutorials, I'm showing you how this would work in basic flowchart and pseudocode components. But if we wanted to, we could actually change this up. Now, I'm not going to do this because these are pre-established slides, but easily, if you look at what we're doing in the code, you could rearrange where these items are in our pseudocode and our flowchart. So for example, looking at what we're doing earlier, if I just take this display and I said display two numbers, I'm going to remove it from this section here. And I'm going to create my variable elements first and even my action item. And then down here, I'm going to print display two numbers. Now, the value of this is we are not changing how the code is going to execute. We're simply changing the way the instructions are being read by the computer. So it's going to, in the back end of things, create this, and this, run this operation, and then it's not going to do anything until you actually tell it to do the next thing. And the only thing that we want to do now is tell it to display what it is it just, figured out. And the reason I say that is because what we've been doing on the back end of the code is actually doing just that. So moving forward is that we want to appreciate there's a sequence and there's a logic to what we're doing. And as long as you have that logic in mind, you're going to write it out first and then come to the computer and test it, okay? So that's really the sequence of logic that I want you to follow and reiterate to your students is that we want to do things in a very logical fashion. So again, I'm creating my 3, 1, 2, 3, num1, num2, and product, running the math operation, and then printing that out. And if we do that, let me go over here and do that, we know that we're going to get the output that we want to get, which is of course 10 times 2 is 20, and that's exactly what we want to see. So with that, I'll see you at the next challenge.